You guys, I feel silly that I did not realize this right away when starting CC. But after 7 years of doing CC, I just learned something that is changing how I am schooling my kids at home. And if we haven't met before, hi, my name is Lynn, and I want to be your homeschooling bestie. It is my hope to help make homeschooling easy for everyday moms and dads. So let's jump into what I just discovered. And it is the fact that the 3 CC cycles are not chronological history facts. I think because they called them cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, and the timeline song goes all the way through, I just thought that all 3 of these cycles were going to start at the beginning of history and move chronologically all the way through to present day. And that is not what they do. And my mind is blown a little bit right now because that's how I had always intended to teach history to my kids. I have to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed. And so that's okay. No curriculum is going to be perfect and is going to fit your family exactly. That's why you're the teacher and you get to decide how to put it together. So now I am shifting my at-home lesson plan a little bit to create a more chronological, historical, and biblical view of our world. And I am not going to try to make a square peg fit in a round hole. So I am not going to be using the CC history facts that we learned through each of these cycles as actively as I thought I would have before. So my goal in homeschooling my kids is to help them understand biblical history and world history and how they fit together in the timeline of the world. That is the foundation I want my students to understand. And then from there, we add on and build other things into that. And that is why I picked originally my Father's World curriculum to teach my kids. It is a box curriculum, so it comes with the lesson plan. It has everything that you need. And when we transitioned to CC 7 years ago, my older 2 students had already completed the cycles of the world up through 6th grade. And they did a year completing that cycle of the world at home using our My Father's World curriculum. And we added in essentials. We did have to shift a little bit because it's too much to do altogether. And then they moved into challenge. My younger 2 students were not at schooling age yet, so I didn't have to worry about them. And as they started at 4 and 5 and 6, we just gave it a light start. I focused only on math and reading, which I did still use the reading program from My Father's World because I do like how they lay it out. And I already had that resource at home, so we just added that in, but we didn't use the rest of the curriculum. And then this year, we are in cycle 2 of CC, and my 3rd daughter is starting her first year at Essentials. My 4th daughter is in 2nd grade, and I thought this would be a great year, now that she's in Essentials, to jump into the history of the world and really start having full history classes and Bible classes at home. I was going to use the resources I had with My Father's World, and I was going to match up the history lessons from My Father's World to the history memory fact that was in the memory work so that we would be learning all of the history of that time period at home during the week that we were studying a memory fact at CC. Much to my dismay, when I start diving in here and looking at these history facts to realize that cycle 2 starts in the year 800 and the history facts end in the year 1994. And so then I started diving in, and cycle 1 starts in the beginning with the 10 Commandments and ends in the year 1822. So their facts are overlapping each other. Now, cycle 3 is a little bit different. It starts in 1492 when Columbus sailed to America, and then it ends with the Bill of Rights. So it is more pure to American history. But I was so surprised that I had not caught this before and so disappointed that it's really not a 3 cycle of chronological history. And there's no way that I can in-depth cover the span of years that they are covering with these history facts in either cycle 1 or cycle 2. So I have had to step back and I am switching my plan here. I am not going to try to match my home curriculum to the CC memory work anymore. What I am going to do is I'm going to use my own home Bible and history curriculum, irregardless of where we are in our memory work at CC. And I'm going to start at creation. And I'm just going to pull back out my Father's World because I do think of all the curriculums out there, they do the best job of interrelating Bible history and world history into one seamless chronological flow of history from creation to the present day. And so we are going to start at the beginning, and they do a 4-year cycle. So it's slightly different from CC, but they cover everything in depth, which is what I am wanting to do at home. And so we are starting at the beginning of time right now, even though at school we are on cycle 2. And I am using the timeline song each morning as we practice at home, but I'm choosing not to pull in the history facts and statements until we hit upon those little sections of history. And I understand there's absolutely no way that CC could get into 2 years of 24 weeks. That would be 58 weeks of history statements and get an entire understanding of history. So I'm not upset about this. I know they had to go through and pick what they consider most important and interesting 58 facts about the world and 24 facts about America. So I still think that they can be an asset, but for my purposes and my goals, they cannot suffice as a complete history curriculum. So you have a better understanding what they do. They call cycle 1 ancient history, and that is because you do start at creation and you move through the ancient cultures, but then you don't stop at 500 CE or 500 AD. And call it good there. They continue moving through into the modern world, touching on some cultures that we might consider more ancient, Japan, some South American cultures, and they move up through almost the current day. Even though they're calling this ancient history, in Essentials, we do the ancient history workbook for our papers, but it's not stopping where ancient history stops. It is continuing to move forward into the present day. And cycle 2 is picking up close to 500 CE or AD, is picking up at 800 AD with Charlemagne, and it is going all the way through modern day. So in my mind, cycle 2 should stop at the 1500s where America comes into the picture, and we would have our American history from 1500 to present day. However, it goes all the way through 1994. So it is also moving into present day. So really, cycle 1 is an ancient view of history throughout the entire timeline. Cycle 2 is a medieval view of history throughout the entire timeline. And you do use the medieval history book for Essentials. And then cycle 3 is just a focus on American history. Or if you live in a different country, I know the goal is to have a specific curriculum for your history of your country. And so this is going to be your student's personal country. And that is how they're structured. So I was surprised and a little bit disappointed and honestly felt a little bit silly that I didn't realize this sooner, that these are not a 3-year chronological history of the world, but they are each an overview of the history with a different focus. And this poses a question for me. I would really, really love to know, what are you doing at home? Are you diving into the history statements to expand on your curriculum at home and just touching on those 24 statements a year? Or are you pulling in a separate history curriculum to encompass a more complete overview of history? And if you have made it to the end of this video, would you put your answer to that question in the comments below? Because I would love to get inspired and to really see how other families are tackling this subject and filling in what I would consider some gaps in the timeline of the world. And if you don't have an answer, but still made it to the end of the video, would you put a heart in the comments below so that I know that you watched it all? That just means the world to me. And remember, you are capable and confident of creating the perfect education for your students.